When I first started investing, one of the first problems I had was to choose the app with which I would invest my money. And at the moment there are so many different apps that you can use for that it's very difficult to choose one, to know which one is better than the other one. And if you search on the internet reviews for these apps, it's always difficult to really understand which apps are good or not for you since you're a beginner, and most of the time the reviews are really technical and they're not clear for a beginner. So that's why I want to make this video, so that it is really easy for beginners to understand which are the different options, apps that exist and which they can use. So let's see the 5 best apps for investing, and we're gonna see it both for Europe and the United States, because most of the time the apps don't work on both continents. So firstly, let's start with the only broker in this list that is actually available worldwide, and it is Interactive Brokers. It is one of the oldest brokers in the world. It has more than 40 years, and because of that it is also one of the most recognized in the world. And what is good of this app is that it actually is extremely complete. You can find any type of asset and any type of analysis tool that you might want. Secondly, you have the opportunity with Interactive Brokers to open a demo account to learn how this app works and also to test your investing skills. And overall, the fees are quite low, which is always good. However, because it is so complete, it might get very difficult for a beginner to start at least investing with this app. And it would require some time to really get used to it. And despite the fees being low, actually the structure is kind of complex, and because of that all this structure is less clear compared to other brokers. Then another big downside, I think, in my opinion at least, is that you can only make bank transfers to deposit in your account, and so it's not possible to use like PayPal or credit cards as other brokers make available. And finally, despite being the whole accounting opening process online, it is quite long compared to the other brokers. So overall, I think that Interactive Brokers is a super complete and great app, but it's better for users that are already experienced, because with this app you can actually do whatever you want. Any type of analysis that you would like to do, it is possible, but this is not something that beginners are actually looking for. So it's possible also to start with this app. If you're a beginner, the learning curve is steeper compared to the other apps in this list, but over the long term it could be a good choice. And so now that we have seen the only app that is actually working worldwide, so both in Europe and the US, let's start with the apps that work in Europe. And so let's start with the app that I actually use, which is eToro. eToro is actually an app that is super simple to use, and that's why I also started with this app, and it also is one of the reasons why I'm not changing it, because I got really used to invest with it, and I don't see any particular downside, at least for me. Moreover, another thing that I really appreciate of this app is that it is the only app which is commission-free for stocks and for most of its ETFs. Moreover, you have a function which is actually very cool, I think, which is social trading, which means that you can compare your portfolio with other investors. So you can copy if you want, or just you can see what people do, which type of investment are more common during the day or during the last month, and it can really give you another point of view on the investments you're making. Finally, the account opening process is super simple, it's totally online, and it's so short that you can do it in just 10 minutes. And moreover, once you have opened your account, you can start with a demo account so that you don't have to start investing immediately, so that you can get to practice, get to know the platform, so that everything gets easier. The downside of eToro is actually that it is made for beginners, for people that don't go too much in detail in their analysis, and that's why you don't have too many analysis tools. And moreover, you don't have all type of assets. However, as said, I believe that it's a great app for investing. It's super simple, and for beginners, I think it's one of the best ones you can find. The third app of our list is DEGIRO, which is also only available in Europe. And as eToro, it's a really simple app to use, and it is really made to be user-friendly. And it is an app that is actually focusing on ETFs. And that's why DEGIRO created a low-fee structure for all investments in ETFs. But despite being focused on ETFs, you can still find many different types of assets, except Forex, CFDs, and cryptos. And another downside of DEGIRO is that to maintain this low-fee structure for the ETFs, they actually have a high conversion rate, which is of 0.25%, which is much higher compared to the other brokers. And finally, if you're starting, DEGIRO doesn't offer a demo account, which I believe it's super important when you start to invest, because you can really understand how the platform works, and you can really also test your skills in investing. Overall, it's still a great app which is used by a lot of people in Europe, and since it's very simple and user-friendly, it's also adapted to beginners. And I would advise it if you really focus on ETFs because of this low structure. So now that we have talked about the apps that work in Europe, let's see which are the best apps for the US. Firstly, we have Fidelity, which is an app which is often rated as the best investment app in the world. And this is because it is super easy for beginners, and at the same time it still has great research and analysis tools, which the other apps like Interactive Brokers or eToro don't have. And secondly, the fees and the costs for stocks and ETFs are also very low. The biggest drawback of this app is just that it doesn't have commodities, futures and cryptos. But if you're not interested in that, it's a really great app. And that's why I believe that if you're in the US, this is the app to go, because it is super easy and super complete. So it's adaptable both for a beginner and for an expert. But if you don't like Fidelity for whichever reason, you also have another great app, which is TD Ameritrade. And it also is super easy for beginners. It has a great research and analysis tools. It has a demo account. The fees are straightforward. But the point for which TD Ameritrade stands out is actually its educational resources for beginners. It is really an app that gives you everything that you need to start investing correctly. And this, I think, that is a really important added value. But similarly to Fidelity, they don't have cryptos in their assets. So overall, also TD Ameritrade is a very good app to start investing, especially because of these educational resources that are offered to you. So overall, all these apps are extremely good, and I think that the choice of the app is really based on personal preference. And that's why my advice to you is to just pick one, open a demo account, test it, and if you like it, just stick with it, because it's gonna be fine. So I hope that this simple review of the best apps to start investing actually gives you the correct tools to do it. And if you want to know more about investing, just look these videos. Thank you and see you soon.